because everything I'm telling you is true. You cannot get a six-figure job without six-figure skills. Period. Ladies and gents, let's get to it. Let's learn something, right? So right now we are in SQL Plus. Right. The cool thing about SQL Plus in Windows is you can do this. You can use this in capital letters, doesn't matter. So show user, show name. I told you guys before, we do everything in the same exact what? We do everything the same exact way so you guys understand, right? So if I do con/s this DBA, this takes me back to where? What do you guys think this takes me back to? It takes me back to what? To the root container, right? If I do show con name, takes me back to the root container. It'd be no different if I exited and I did SQL plus/s this DBA, it'd be no different. Because now if I do show con name, you can see I'm back in there, right? But if I want to go back to, if I want to see all my pluggable databases inside the root container, I do what? Select name from $PDBS, right? So the tables that we created last time were inside this pluggable database, right? So how do I go from the root container, which is where we are now, to the pluggable database? It's really simple. You just do what? Alter session set container is equal to ORCL PDB, right? Okay. So now we're there, right? So I want to see all the users inside of my database, right? So I do what? Select. Remember we started talking about select? Select username from DBA users, right? I'm going to do order by one. So we create a user Scott, and then we create a user, I believe we created a user John, and we create a user HR. Okay. Now I want you guys to pay attention to something, right? We started talking about the order of things, right? We're trying to communicate with the database, and the database has a specific language, right? Trying to talk to data in SQL language, SQL. Can't talk regular English, right? It has to be a language that's structured for query purposes, right? A language that's structured for query purposes, right? And of course, we dig more into this in the course, but just giving you guys just a little taste of it. Anyway, so I believe last time we created tables inside the user John, but how would we know whether or not this user John has tables inside, right? So we do what? Select table name from DBA tables. All right, let me explain to you guys what's this DBA stuff, right? What's this DBA tables and DBA users? All right, let me give you guys a clue, right? Anytime you're inside of a database, which we are, we did the alter session set container command, right? Where so now we're inside the ORCL PDB database, right? Anytime you're in there, right? If you want to get information about the different users, tables, constraints, indexes, profiles, table spaces, whatever it is, just put DBA underscore whatever it is and end it with an S, semicolon, enter. Describe it, and that'll give you basically all the information you need, right? Guys, I'll keep it short. So this is my site, clouduniversity.com. Been teaching for going on over 10 years. I teach people how to make six figures, right? It's really that simple. Six figures. If you want to make six figures, boom, it is what it is, right? Now, we teach you all things as far as related to Oracle database administration. Look at all the courses. We have over 1,000 courses on there, right? But you can learn how to make six figures today. And yes, AI is here, but it's not. It's AI is actually dying. If you guys do your research, right? So there is still going to be need for humans to actually do the work, right? I'm not over here trying to teach you guys how to make $1 million. No, I just want to show you guys how to double your salary. So the average black man makes what, $42,000 a year? Cool. Well, I'm gonna teach you how to triple that. Simple enough. You make what, $20 an hour? I'm gonna show you how to make between 60 and $70 an hour after what, 3 months. How hard is that, right? So what you want to do is you want to go to clouduniversity.com, all right, and you want to click on the first. You want to click on the very first video that you guys see. I'm sorry, course that you guys see. This one right here. We have shorter videos that are a little bit more tailored. This gives you everything, but then we have other courses, right? So we have Oracle and AWS for you guys that just want to learn Oracle and AWS. You can just learn that. But if you want the whole shebang, yep, it's right there, right? Now, you may ask yourself, well, why is it so expensive? Well, that it's relative, right? If you want to go back to college, that's going to cost you at least, what, 100 to 200 grand with room and board. And that's going to take you 4 years. But with Cloud University, it's only going to take you 3 months. 3 short months, and you're making $70 an hour. I think it's a good deal. So, guys, hit the link in the description. Book a call on Calendly or whatever, and we can talk. We can sit down and we can talk for about 30 minutes and see whether or not we're a good fit. All right, guys, talk to you soon. Peace. I'll say it again. Anytime you're trying to get, so for instance, if I need information about tables, I just want to know, okay, how many tables are inside of a database? Okay, let me just check DBA underscore what? Tables. I want to know how many users are inside the database. I want information about users. I'd look DBA underscore what? Users. I want to know what indexes are inside of tables. I go my DBA underscore indexes. If I want to know how many constraints are on the table, I'll go to my DBA underscore. Are you guys getting it? I want to know how many views there are. I go to my DBA underscore views. Stuff like that. All right. It's really simple. Right. So because I just want to know all the table names inside the table, right? And we'll talk about this where stuff in a minute, where owner equals John. I just want to know, okay, how many tables does user John? Right? So user John has the employees table, right? User John. So once again, if I do show user, I am still connected to sys, but because I'm sys, I can tell how many tables user John has. Okay. All right. So let's circle back again. Now let me host clear. Host CLS. Okay. When it comes to SQL, you're going to do select. It's always select. It's going to be select something from something. Semicolon. That's it. But to do that, that's not going to work. But to do that, you must first describe the table because you don't know anything. So describe something. And this something is what? A table. It's really simple. Like, for instance, John has a table, right? And we saw that John has a table called employees, right? I don't know anything about this table. So what am I going to do? I'm going to describe that table. Okay. Because I am sys, so everything starts with the description. You got to start with description because over time, after about 3 times, you already know who owns it. You pretty much know this table. Then you don't need to describe it, right? But initially, when you're brand new to the environment, you're gonna have to describe a lot, and so you can get the lay of the land, right? It's like when your mom comes into your house the first time. She's got to go into all the different rooms to see the lay of the land, right? Then after a few times, she knows where the bathroom is, she knows where the kitchen is, she knows blah, 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 so she's good to go. So you're gonna have to describe it just like that first, right? Okay. So describe John.employee. I don't know anything about this table. I just started working. So this first thing you do. Okay. So this table, John.employee has just 2 columns called name and called ID and name. These are the two columns, right? Now, the data type inside these columns are what? For ID, it's a number, which makes sense. Every ID is a number. And name is a variable character too, right? And we gave it a length of 25, right? Remember varchar stands for variable character. What's the 2 for? Don't ask me. It's just, it is what it is. Not varchar 25. That was varchar 2, 25. We also have char. That's just straight characters, no special characters. And then we have boolean, which is yes or no, right? So anyway, those are the main ones that you're going to have to deal with, right? So anytime you create a table, it's going to have a column, at least one column, and that is going to have a data type. What kinds of data are we expecting inside of this column? If you try to put a character in a number data type, it's not going to work. But if you try to put a number in a variable character data type, it'll work because it's variable character. It accepts everything, right? If you try to put a number in a character data type, it's not going to work. If you try to put a character inside of a number data type, that's not going to work either. Make sense? So variable character 2, that's like the end all be all. Most people use that. But if you know the number, then just put the number there, right? So it just makes things a lot easier, right? Because if I made everything varchar 2, and then I put a length, it'll work, but it doesn't really give me enough information. But if I put ID and number, okay, so I know, okay, only numbers can go inside this column. Now numbers could be with decimal points as well. I could put 9.6. So for instance, when I was creating the table, I could create another table, create table john.emp, then I'll do ID number. And then I'll do this 2 comma 1. So what does this do? So now if I do describe john.emp, what does this do? Right? See, when I describe it, I didn't put any data, I didn't do any inserts, I just wanted to create a table, right? So what this basically says is this table right here, right, can have up to what? 2 digits in total, including the decimal point, including the digit after the decimal point, right? So this number could be 1.5. In fact, let me test that real quick. So if I do insert into john.emp values, I do 10.5. Watch this. See that? Value larger than specified precision allow for this column. See that? But now if I do this, insert into, and I do 5.5, that works, right? Now, because this is a DML, remember we spoke about DML, select insert, update, delete, merge, right? What do we have to do? We have to do what? Commit. Right? Just have to commit to make it permanent, right? If you don't commit, it's not permanent. So I can simply roll it back to just erase it like it never happened, right? I told you guys about that. So I could give a number with precision. I could say, okay, 2 comma 1. This means that you can only see 2 digits. 1 before and 1 after. 2 and comma 1. Make sense? Okay. But now if I notice how I try to do 10.1, so this lets you know that no, this is 3 digits, but you said 2.1. So it would have invalidated, it wouldn't allow you to even put it in there, right? Because you put what? A constraint. That's what a constraint is, right? You put a constraint on there. A type of number. It's not just a number, a type of number. But if you look at the John and employees table, you see that this is just a number. That's it. It's just a number. Doesn't matter. I could have done whatever it is, right? So if I do select star from John.employees, You see, ID, it just 1, 2, 3. So if I do insert into John.employees values, and I do 5.5, oh, 5.5, then I do Sammy. See, it works. All right. If I commit, if I do select star from it again, right? Why did it work? Because I didn't put any restrictions on the number, right? I just give it an X, A, just let it be a number. So when it comes to numbers, numbers accepts decimal points. Doesn't matter. I can make it 5.75243412. It doesn't matter. I just said I just want a number. I didn't give it a precision, right? You see that? You see the specified precision allowed. Precision. This is the precision right here. Sorry, right there. All right. This is only one precision, right? But I didn't give John and employees any precision. I just said give it a number. Doesn't matter what the number is, right? This is why it allowed us to do what? Give it a 5.5, right? So going back to SQL, it's always select something from something, right? So first of all, you describe the table. It gives you information about the table, right? And then you go from there. Then when I describe John and employees, for instance, when I do that, the only thing you can select are what you see on the left, always. No matter what table you describe, the only thing you can select is what you see on the left, because these are the columns that are available to you for you to do what? Select from. So if I try to do select ID, names from John, then employees, will it work? Let's see. It's not going to work. Why? Because you're going to get this error, invalid identifier. Anytime you see invalid identifier and it's pointing underneath, and it's saying that, hey, dude, there is no column called named inside the John.employees. Looks close, but it's not. It's got to be exactly what you see. So if I do select name from John.employees, right? That'll work. Now, if you guys notice, right, when I do select ID, I put a comma there, right? Right. You guys need to write naturally, right? Select ID, comma, name from John.employees. That works. But if I don't put a comma, if I do select ID, name from John.employees, what you will do is going to give you information back, but it's only going to give you one column, because it's going to assume that this name, you want it to replace the name of the ID column. In other words, you want it to be an alias, is basically what you're saying that you want it to be. Watch. See, it works. But what you just did was you wanted the ID and the name, but because you didn't put a comma, it's assuming that you want to replace the ID column, the ID name column to name. I could have done this, right? I could have called it goat, doesn't matter. See that? Anytime you don't put a comma after after each column, it's going to assume that it's what? That it's a what? An alias. Now watch this. You see how in John and employees I have two columns? I'm going to do select. If I want to see everything, I do what? Select star from John employees, right? This shows me everything. But if I want to be specific, I do select ID, name from John employees, right? That works. What I did not do is I did not do this, comma, from John employees. Watch this error. This is one of the most frustrating things that beginners are going to have, right? Once you finish with all the column listings, you do not put a comma after the last column before the from. Never put a comma before the from. Never put a comma after the last motherfucking column before the last. Never put a comma after the last motherfucking column before the motherfucking from. Throughout my years of teaching, this is the number one thing that a lot of students is so annoying. Never put a comma after the last goddamn column. All right? Don't do that. All right? That last one can go. Like, just leave it. But if you have 10 columns, you put a comma before everything. You put a comma after everyone except the last what? Except the last column. So if I did select ID, 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 goat from John Employees. This is not going to work, but I'm just showing you guys, right? I'm just showing you guys that goat is invalid. Right? It just is what it is. So if I do something like this, right? It'll give me the same thing, right? I'm just asking for the same information, what, 6 times? Doesn't matter, right? But it's saying goat doesn't matter, right? But you notice that it didn't give me an invalid, it didn't say anything it was invalid. The only reason why I said it was invalid because goat doesn't exist, right? But if I just did select ID, right? It'll work. As long as this last one does not have a comma before the from. Never put a comma after the last what column before the from, right? These are little things, right? So let's say I wanted to replace the word ID with something else. Select ID as from John.employees, right? So that's another way I can create an alias, right? But this one is just a little bit too, it's a little bit too fancy, right? Just do select ID space dog from John. It's the same thing. But if you want to be extra pretty, just do select ID as what? Dog from John and employee, right? You can do it like that, right? All right. So we covered a few things today. I don't want to make this video too long, guys. Just giving you guys a taste of some of the things you're going to feel and some of the things you're going to learn to be a high value man where you what? Make them 6 figures. Guys, is this too hard? Is this hard? Not teach you anything hard. This isn't rocket science, right? Super easy. All you guys got to do is just. And you know, the funny thing is, once you start to get it, once you register, you start the class, and you start to get it, it actually becomes quite intoxicating because for the first time in a while, you start to realize that you're using a part of your brain that you haven't used before. You get this high, man. It's pretty cool actually. When you start to figure it out, because I'm going to ask you, show me this from this, right? Give me that, right? So the last thing I'm going to show you guys is I want to, if I do select ID name, let's talk about the word clause, right? So if I just want to see everything, select ID name, it'll show me everything. It'll show me everything. But notice I'm not being specific as to what I really want to see. Let's say I just want to see all the IDs number 1 and 2. Let's say I just want to see all the people's names whose name is called Tammy. Now, notice how I said I want to see all the people whose name is what? Tammy. Right? Blah, 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 blah. Now what you have to do is instead of who, you have to use what? The where clause. You got to use the where clause, dog. So to do that, I want to see all the people whose ID is 1 and 2. So I do what? Select ID from John. I want to see the name, right? Select name from John.employees, where ID equals, let's start as 1, for instance. Let's do this. right? It shows me that. If I said, all right, I want to see all the people whose name is Smith, where name equals Sammy. See that? It works. Select name from, oh, sorry, I should have put select ID, right? Yeah, that matter, right? Select name from web. Okay. But if I did this, select ID from job employees, where name equals Smith. Watch this. Select ID from job employees where name equals Smith. Will it work? Will it work? Let's see. It didn't give you an error, but it says no person by the name Smith. But we do see a Smith there. It's Smith right there. The reason why you don't see a Smith is the way the data is inside of the table is the way you have to present it in your SQL statement. You gotta do that, right? It's in lowercase, you gotta present it in lowercase. If it's uppercase, you must present it in uppercase, right? So to change that, you do select name equals what? Change it, Smith, right? So this gives me what, right? If I do select ID from John Dunn employees, where lower name equals Smith, right? That works too, right? That works too. But let's say I wanted to change Smith to uppercase. I could do that too. So I could just do a select. I want to present it. I'm not changing anything. I'm just presenting it the way I want it to look on my screen. Right? Upper name equals Smith. I want to show you guys something. Smith. See that? That's not gonna work. You gotta tell it. Once you do the upper lower, it's gotta match, right? So you do what? Upper name equals what? Smith. Now that'll work. Because once you do lower, you're saying I make it lower. So you have to actually make it lower. When you say I want to see it in uppercase, then you got to make it uppercase. Then it'll give you the one. So if I do select name from John employees where upper name equals Smith. Watch this. You see that? It works. All right. It'll see your name. All right. So I just wanted to share this with you. We're moving slowly but steadily. Just giving you guys a taste of just trying to give you guys some knowledge, right? We went through quite a bit today. Showed you guys again how to create new tables. I showed you guys how to insert data. I showed you guys the different errors you can see. I introduced you guys to what the where clause. I introduced you guys to the just regular select statements and so on and so forth, the describe and all that good stuff, right? Guys, we have a Calendly link in the description. You can go to the website as well. It's in the description. Just click on it if you're ready to sign up. If not hesitating, you know what you want to do. You want to make 6 figures. Just click on the link. Boom, it's on a laptop. It's ready to rock and roll, right? So, but anyway, hit the like and subscribe, guys. I teach this channel because I want to see more people make $100,000 a year. It's just period. It is what it is. I want you to be able to provide for your family, period. In the shortest amount of time. All right, guys. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.